Sup, you beautiful bastards. Welcome back to the Philip DeFranco Show, your daily dive into the news. We have a lot to talk about today, but first, I'm very excited to announce that our brand new beautiful bastard drop is now live, and so is our Black Friday sale. Y'all gotta love this, right? The drop includes new tie-dyes, the coziest fleece line, thriving hoodie that feels like a constant hug, and a wear your feelings all over zip hoodie. We're also expanding our now hugely successful core line, introducing core everyday polos and joggers. Look good, feel good. But then, for something more loud, we have the Bringer of Sadness 2024 gear. You have that in tee and limited edition hockey jersey. We also brought back some fan favorites and new colors, right? The emotionally exhausted jersey, embrace change tee, flower split dye tee. And then, just in time for comfy season, we have new scented candles, twin size plush blankets, fuzzy socks, and beanies. Oh, and that fragile hat I've been teasing y'all with in recent weeks, it's finally back in stock. So get anything and everything you want right now, especially because we've got Black Friday savings all over the site right now with 5 exclusive bundles. Right, and so basically the bundles get you 30 to 40% off the items, no code needed, discounts are auto applied. I mean, some of the items are like 50% off. So gift yourself or someone in your life some amazing awesomeness over at beautifulbastard.com right now and save tons using bundles. Thank you and you're welcome in advance. But for everyone else, we got a lot of news to talk about today, so let's jump into it. Starting with, World War III is coming and it's all Ukraine's fault, apparently, or at least according to Joe Rogan. Because on a recent episode of his podcast, it's now been embroiled in controversy. Rogan was talking to the music producer Scott Storch and saying that he feels safer knowing that Trump will be in office, but
what I don't feel safer is right now they're launching missiles into Russia.
Yeah.
How are you allowed to do that when you're on the way out? Like, the people don't want you to be there anymore. This should be like some sort of a pause for like significant actions that could potentially start World War III. Maybe that would be a good thing that we would like to avoid from a dying former president. Zelensky says Putin is terrified. F you, man. F you people. You people are about to start World War III.
With Rogan then reacting to the news that Russia fired a new hypersonic missile at a Ukrainian city, which, key thing, like we talked about, can carry either a conventional or nuclear warhead. With Rogan saying that if it did have a nuclear warhead, the entire world would change because of the military-industrial complex, Western aid to Ukraine, and the Biden administration doing something, quote,
insane. Insane.
With Rogan then going on to accuse CNN of cheering on Biden's recent decision to allow Ukraine to launch US-made long-range missiles into Russia. But with that, you have people pointing to CNN's coverage where it seems like it's pretty standard, straightforward reporting, so it's unclear what he was specifically referring to.
Come to the negotiation table, sit down, work this out, stop killing everybody. How has the left gone so far crazy that they think it's a good thing to launch missiles? Also, Zelensky, can I get a drug test?
Right, and so naturally those clips of Rogan, they stir up a lot of controversy online, and some saying things like, where was this energy, Joe Rogan, when Putin bombed Kyiv's main children's cancer hospital? Just massacre after massacre of Ukrainian innocents, but Ukraine is never allowed to respond, and if they do respond, they are accused of wanting World War III. Putin gets to rape and kill with impunity, and somehow this is never escalation. He can bring in North Korean soldiers to invade a European country, and somehow this is not an escalation. You also have the likes of the famous Ukrainian boxer Vladimir Klitschko, whose brother is the mayor of Kyiv, calling out Rogan on Instagram.
Let me tell you that you're repeating Russian propaganda. Putin's Russia is in trouble, so they want to scare you and people like you. Putin's Russia wants to destroy Ukraine quietly. They want America to stay quiet, not great, but quiet. A great America is not an America that abandons countries that defend freedom with their lives. If you invite me on your podcast, we could discuss them like free men.
Right, and understand with this, depending on where you go online, there are people having drastically different reactions. Right, there are viral posts saying we should all be as angry as Joe Rogan about this. But again, this, as many others are pointing out, that Rogan's going after the victim of this situation. Putin and Russia invaded, they attacked. And Rogan is seemingly going after and criticizing the victim of an assault for trying to fight back, which is why you have folks saying things like Joe Rogan is a spineless moral idiot. When Russia is killing Ukrainians with long-range missiles, coward Rogan is quiet. When Ukraine fights back, he cries, pathetic little loser. And understand the last thing that I think all of us want is more war. But to me, it's such a weird fucking game of mental gymnastics to go after the victim of the situation because you're scared of the aggressor. And I think that's doubly true in a situation where I have to really ask, do you think that it ends with Ukraine? Because our European allies have been shouting from the rooftops that this is not where it ends. If Putin is just allowed to do as he pleases, where does it end? And then let's talk about some quickie entertainment news, because there's a few things all over. Started with the fact that Wicked and Gladiator 2 absolutely dominated the box office this weekend, with Wicked easily soaring to #1 in North America, with sales reaching around $95 million over the weekend, but topping $114 million when you include previews earlier in the week. And that is, it's also expected to rack up an additional $48 million abroad. And I mean, that's pretty major. It makes it the third largest opener of the year, with only Deadpool, Wolverine, and Inside Out 2 raking in $211 million and $154 million respectively their opening weekends. But then beyond that, Wicked also completely shattered the record for the best opening by a Broadway to film adaptation, with the previous king being Hairspray, which earned $43 million in 2007 after adjusting for inflation. And this is Gladiator 2 brought in around $56 million in North America, including previews, though the big difference here is that the film had a much bigger worldwide total of about $220 million since coming out overseas earlier this month. And so while obviously, it didn't have as strong as a first opening weekend in North America, experts still say that it was a solid box office haul, especially given the general lull we've seen since the summer. Some, I will say, have also speculated that both films actually helped boost one another, with some even calling it Glicked, which no, stop that. Please no more. Barbenheimer had like a real grassroots thing. Everything else, I feel like I hear it and it hurts my brain. But also, I will say with this success, you have analysts noting that this whole box office boom, it came at a big cost, some very extensive marketing campaigns. But I mean, just Wicked specifically, they had an absolutely insane months-long press tour. I mean, it felt like everywhere you turned, there was Cynthia Erivo, there was Ariana Grande, why are you in my refrigerator? Or there was all of the press tour shit. Also, I mean, those two were on the circuit for months. They appeared frequently at the Summer Olympics. NBC's also been pouring a ton of resources into it. The network actually broadcasted an hour-long infomercial about the movie. There's been wall-to-wall coverage on the Today Show. And then there are the promotions at Universal theme parks and the over 400 brand partnerships for the film. And this, while it wasn't the same level, Gladiator 2 also had a big marketing blitz. Paramount Pictures advertising it heavy at sporting events, setting up major partnerships, including ones with Ferrari and Pepsi. And so with all this, you have a number of people going, oh, is this the new normal? Are these the lanes you have to go now to fill theaters, even for major movies? And while I'd love to know your thoughts on that, I will also say I highly recommend you go watch Wicked. I was a fan of the musical. I think the movie actually elevates the whole thing. Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are fucking amazing in this. I will say though, I went into it not knowing that they were splitting it into two movies, and while they would normally annoy the shit out of me, I'm looking forward to part 2. But then in other entertainment pop culture news, we got Dr. Disrespect in the news. And that is because he'll be joining Rumble and begin streaming there next week, with Rumble also confirming the move in a blog post saying that in addition to streaming, Dr. Disrespect will provide exclusive content to Rumble Premium and, quote, will also lead Rumble Gaming, acting as an advisor and helping to build the Rumble gaming community. And very notably here, as part of his deal, Rumble will also be giving him equity with milestones as a majority of its compensation. And so generally, this has been seen as the answer to the kind of open question that's been out there for a while of where will Dr. Disrespect go? Twitch banned him just months after signing a multi-million-dollar exclusivity deal, with it being reported after that ban was due to inappropriate conversations he had with a minor. And while Dr. Disrespect has denied any wrongdoing, YouTube also suspended monetization on his channel and his membership in YouTube's partner program as a result, which then led to a lot of speculation of he might go to Kick, because they're known for their more lax moderation and aptitude for hosting controversial creators. But then we saw Kick's CEO recently saying it wouldn't make sense for the platform to make a deal with him from a financial perspective. And so kind of like if you looked at all the different players, Rumble was really one of the only logical moves, right? Especially if he was trying to get something out of a platform. But then also with this, you now have people wondering if, this move will represent a significant shift to the right for the streamer and his content, right? And that because Rumble, which bills itself as an anti-cancel culture platform, has become known for hosting some of the biggest right-wing personalities like Tucker Carlson and Steve Bannon. And actually with that, we saw Dr. Disrespect kind of hitting on that in a post on his personal account today, right? And crazy to think a type of class of people tried to cancel us and create a false, exaggerated narrative about something from almost a decade ago. They embarrassed my family and I, and then adding, truly grateful for the opportunity to help grow a new, hungry platform that represents the type of values I'm aligned with. No more cancel culture, no more suppression. But yeah, for now, we'll have to wait to see what this looks like, if it's successful, though I will say on that front, if there was anyone that could make a Rumble gaming work, it would be this guy. Because whatever your feelings on him are, his audience is very enthusiastic and loyal to the point that they would follow him somewhere. And that, as it feels like we're more and more living in a world of multi-streaming, where creators are just going to all the other platforms where people already are. But yeah, time will tell. But then, taking a quick break from the news, if you're like me, finding a holiday gift that's fun, educational, and keeps kids excited, it can feel like a challenge. But that's why I love the sponsor of today's show, KiwiCo, where they've made gifting for the kids in my life so much easier. And not to mention, it's cool for adults too. Because with KiwiCo, you're not just given a one-time present, you're gifting a series of hands-on learning adventures delivered every month. Each crate is designed to spark curiosity and build skills in areas like science, art, and world discovery all through play. And my kids love diving into KiwiCo Labs crates, which focus on science and engineering, and they've built projects that light up, move, and even teach STEM concepts in ways that feel like playing. And seeing their excitement as they're tinkering and creating, it's been priceless. And for me, it's rewarding knowing that they're learning while having fun. Plus, KiwiCo offers something for every age and interest, from toddlers exploring their first art projects to teens tackling advanced engineering challenges. It's hands-on discovery that grows with them. So this holiday, give the kids in your life a gift that truly keeps on giving. Head to kiwico.com/DeFranco and use code DeFranco to get 50% off your first club crate when you join a club for kids age 3+. You'll love it. KiwiCo works so hard to create awesome moments, making a great gift for families. But then let's talk about bird flu being detected in raw milk sold in California. Because yesterday, the California Department of Public Health issued a notice saying that the virus was found in a batch of cream top whole raw milk from Raw Farm LLC of Fresno County, which then offered a voluntary recall at the state's request. Now, very notably here, the CDPH said that there have not been any reported illnesses in connection to this batch, but also reportedly the affected lot had a best buy date of 11/27/2024, and according to the World Health Organization, while most people develop symptoms within 2 to 5 days, it can take up to 17 days, which is why the CDPH warning that people can contract bird flu not just from drinking contaminated raw milk, but even from accidentally inhaling it or touching their eyes, nose, and mouth with unwashed hands after touching raw milk. And that's also why the state health agency warning people not to drink any of the affected unpasteurized milk and to immediately return any remaining products to the retailer that they purchased it from. And so with that, one, adding that officials were notifying sellers to remove the contaminated products as well, and two, the CDPH also noting public health experts have long warned consumers against consuming raw milk or raw milk products due to elevated risks of foodborne illness, with them then going on to outline a laundry list of different bacteria and illnesses that have been reported in relation to consuming raw dairy. And this is explicitly saying that the CDPH actively advises against consuming raw milk or raw milk products due to the risk of foodborne illnesses. Right, with the agency explaining that pasteurization, right, the process of heating milk to a certain temperature for a set length of time, it kills many of these bad microorganisms that can cause illness. And making it clear that pasteurized milk, unlike raw milk, is safe to drink despite what you might see online. Right, and I will say to that point, we actually did a deep dive recently into the dangers of drinking unpasteurized milk amid a boom and what can really only be described as raw milk propaganda. And I'll link to that in the description, and I recommend you check it out. The very top level TLDR is that there's been this big growing trend of people consuming and promoting raw milk as a healthier and more natural alternative. And this, despite the fact that health experts say the exact opposite. We're saying that it is actually much more dangerous and there's nothing unnatural about pasteurization. So part of the reason that this movement has gotten so much traction is it kind of just, it eats its way from both sides. Right, on one end, you have a lot of far-right anti-establishment folks latching onto it as a middle finger to the government agencies, kind of painting this as a matter of freedom. But then on the complete other end, you have the kind of woo-woo Erewhon types like Gwyneth Paltrow hawking it. They're saying that she drinks unpasteurized cream in her coffee daily, and she's literally promoting the same brand of raw milk that tested positive for bird flu in California. And then all of this is we've seen an increased push among lawmakers in a growing number of states to legalize unpasteurized milk. Hell, just last week, a bill was introduced in the Arkansas legislature that would expand access by making off-farm sales of raw milk legal. And this is in addition to the many other health risks. You have the situation in California raising concerns about the possible transmission of bird flu to people who consume raw milk. Because while this virus is largely associated with birds, cases were first confirmed in U.S. dairy cows back in March, and since then the virus has spread to cattle in 15 states. And although the spread to humans remains low, most of the confirmed cases came from exposure to cattle, according to the CDC. And California has been disproportionately impacted. According to Agricultural Department data, 402 of the 616 confirmed cases in cattle have been in California. But that's also super significant because experts say that the big concern here is that the more people exposed to bird flu, the more opportunities the virus has to mutate and become more dangerous. With us seeing, for example, Celine Gounder, an infectious disease specialist and an epidemiologist at NYU, explaining, if you have people being exposed to H5N1 avian flu and then they get infected with regular seasonal flu, they can function as a mixing vessel in which these different flu viruses combine and form a Frankenstein virus to which people do not have any pre-existing immunity. And that's how you end up with a pandemic. With them adding that just one person who consumes raw milk with bird flu could put the rest of the population at risk. But again, all of that is being said and warned in the face of this growing movement. For now, we're gonna have to wait to see, both generally and also because California is taking precautions to protect consumers, including by testing batches of raw milk, with the same actually being done at the federal level as well in other affected states. But hey, like I said, we'll see. I feel like everything that's happening right now is we're just in fuck around and find out territory. Though unfortunately, in pretty much every avenue, even those who aren't fucking around are gonna have to find out because others are fucking around. Yeah, fun times. But then, in truly wild international news, the vice president of the Philippines publicly said she has contracted an assassin to kill the president, his wife, and the Speaker of the House in case she ends up dead. Right, with that being Vice President Sara Duterte, who, if you're like, why does that sound so familiar? It's because her father, Rodrigo Duterte, is the former president whose war on drugs left thousands dead in a campaign now being investigated as possibly crimes against humanity. And in fact, we just talked about him last month when he admitted before Congress that he had once authorized a death squad to kill alleged drug dealers and users. But in any case, the current president is Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr., and he's often referred to as BBM for short. And you see, his daddy was a dictator who tortured and killed his political opponents before eventually being ousted in a largely peaceful uprising. So the younger Marcos ran with the younger Duterte, both winning landslide victories in separate elections and calling for national unity. Right, this is them smiling and holding hands during the inauguration ceremony back in 2022. But since then, they've clashed over a number of issues, including how to deal with China's aggressive actions in the disputed South China Sea, with things just then getting personal, where Duterte has loudly and let's say colorfully criticized BBM, his wife, and the House Speaker, who notably is BBM's cousin, accusing them of corruption, incompetence, and politically persecuting her family and its supporters. With in fact, last month, her telling reporters her relationship with BBM had gotten so toxic that she wanted to cut his head off. And then, not long after that, she said that she would dig up his father's body and throw it into the sea. But with that, Duterte's latest comments seem to be driven by the House deciding to detain her chief of staff, right? Because her chief of staff was accused of obstructing a congressional inquiry into Duterte's alleged misuse of funds. And this leading to a profanity-filled tirade in an online news conference Saturday where she eventually made the comment about hiring a hitman, with her then later trying to walk it back, saying it wasn't a real threat, but rather an expression of concern over some unspecified threat to her own life. But notably, here are her exact words. "Don't worry about my security because I've talked with somebody. I said, if I'm killed, you'll kill BBM, his wife, and the Speaker of the House. No joke. No joke." And so with that, unsurprisingly, the National Police and military immediately increased the security of the president. And the National Security Council said it considered all threats to BBM a matter of national security, with also the Department of Justice saying it would issue a subpoena giving Duterte 5 days to explain herself before investigators. And then as far as what the president has had to say about this, he said, quote, "The statements we've heard the past few days are disturbing. There's the nonstop cursing and the threats to kill. If it's that easy to plan to kill the president, what more the average Filipino? That sort of criminal attempt cannot be allowed to happen. I will fight that." And there, I should say technically, whether or not Duterte was being serious or not, she may have still broken the law. Right, and that, because in the Philippines, her comments may constitute a crime of threatening to inflict a wrong on a person or his family. And that's punishable by a jail term and a fine there. But for now, we're gonna have to wait to see how all this plays out. But then, Mr. Beast is finally responding to so many of the accusations that have been made against him in recent months. There may be lawsuits in the future, and there's also now a controversy around the way that he addressed this. Right, and all of this stemming from Mr. Beast sitting down with a creator by the name of Oompaville in a 2.5-hour interview, which I am going to try to make consumable and hit the highlights because I know a lot of people do not have 2.5 hours for this. Right, and so where I'll start is the fact that Mr. Beast apparently is considering a lawsuit against Dogpack, which if you don't remember, Dogpack's that former Mr. Beast employee who's posted videos accusing Mr. Beast of essentially being a fraud, laying out tons of alleged wrongdoings. Now with that, since there's been a good amount of pushback to Dogpack's claims, and Mr. Beast said that Dogpack was spreading misinformation, and when asked if he would sue Dogpack, he said,
"There's tons of examples of him intentionally manipulating things to not be true and posting it online. Caused a lot of harm to my businesses. I mean, I've literally had people pull out millions of dollars and then tell me it was directly because of his video. It's just unfortunate. Like, I don't want to be put in this situation, but probably gonna have to. I mean, it's just, I mean, what do you do if someone's just spreading misinformation about you and, you know, just causing harm to your business?
Or with Mr. Beast even saying that he has spoken to law firms who said that it would be a very winnable case. And as far as some of the more specific allegations Mr. Beast said weren't true, we'll start with Delaware, because Mr. Beast was accused of knowingly hiring a registered sex offender by the name of Delaware. But here you had Mr. Beast saying, yes, he hired him, but he did not know he was a registered sex offender. Saying instead he had just gone to a local Best Buy to hire some of the staffers. Mr. Beast, being 19 at the time, really didn't think about background checks, and adding,
"There's a rumor that's gone around that said that he sat me and my mom down and told us." Obviously, I don't remember that happening. And when I read that tweet, the first thing I did was I called my mom and I was like, "Hey, did this happen?" Because someone's claiming this happened. My mom said, "I would have literally quit or honestly probably shut the business down before I ever let my teenage son hire a registered sex offender knowingly." I take accountability. Yes, if I could go back in time, I would tell teenage me, hey, you're supposed to do background checks.
Mr. Beast also then went on to address claims that he used CGI in his videos, explaining that it's only used very sparingly and not to fully fabricate something, just to make it look better. And in a document with evidence and examples, he noted that Dogpack said that he made up an explosion with CGI, but Mr. Beast said that the explosion was real and CGI was just used to touch it up and enhance it. Mr. Beast also touched on accusations that he ran illegal lotteries and said that as far as he knows, the lotteries that he ran weren't illegal, but he does have people looking into it. But then also with that, he said if people want refunds for it, he set up a page for people to seek those just for good measure. Also, as far as why he said that it took him so long to respond to these claims, he said that it was because he had hired an outside investigation team to look into the allegations being made against his company, with him saying that during that time, it just wasn't right for him to speak on all this.
They recommended that I not talk about drama or really do anything online because it might influence, witnesses or any people they might interview or ex-employees.
Or with him calling the timing unfortunate since so much was being levied against him as the investigation unfolded, but saying that he had to let it play out. And that investigation notably finding that allegations of sexual misconduct were without merit. So it was reported they did find several isolated incidents of workplace harassment, which they said were addressed. And with all this, Mr. B is saying that he just acted based off of the information that the law firm investigating gave him.
They told me, I need to fire someone. We fired him. I mean, it's not like I don't want to be the arbiter of truth. I want people who are professional in these things to, get the information, make sure they have all the facts, and I want them to tell me what to do.
We also saw Mr. Beast responding to some of the more general criticisms around his content, or things like his charity work. People think that it's fraudulent or exploitative. But the seeing him pushing back against a few examples, saying in situations where he was accused of things like not paying for surgeries, he ended up following through and paying. With him saying that a lot of the stuff just ends up being tied to miscommunication errors that happen when you're trying to help thousands of people worldwide. With him then also responding to situations where people accuse him of using his philanthropy as a shield against criticism.
I actually think I would get less hate if I didn't do philanthropy. So I actually think it's having the inverse effect, at least in the last 2 years. People hate me more because I do good.
We also saw Mr. Beast pushing back against the claims that the cacao that he uses in his Feastables bars are unethically sourced and involve slave labor, with him saying that he works with Tony's Chocolonely to make sure everything is ethical, and saying not only is Feastables fair trade certified, but they also pay a living income reference price to prevent child labor. Also in this, there were other things that he said that he couldn't talk much about, like the Beast Games lawsuit, where there's ongoing litigation, but of the whole situation where former contestants are suing him and Amazon, he said that some of it's being exaggerated, saying that claims that the production went out of its way to use non-union labor were false, saying that they did use unions. Then, regarding one specific claim, he did note that one woman was allergic to the feminine care products that they had on set and still did not get them in a timely manner after telling crew, and of that he said,
which is unacceptable. And so I learned a lot of little things like that, but I think in general, a lot of it has just been blown out of proportion.
And then the last thing that we're going to touch on, which there's also a fair amount of discussion on it and responses, are those crypto allegations, right? Because CoffeeZilla recently dove into a report about Mr. Beast on that front. And regarding all that, you had Mr. Beast saying,
what I told Coffee in that statement we gave him, it was managed by a fund. So I wasn't the one managing the wallet. I've never had access to that wallet. I've never done the buying and selling on that wallet.
And so Mr. B said that most of the allegations coming out against his crypto investments tie to the fact that he's just not capable of handling it himself and has a fund doing it. Saying the wallet is called Wu-Tang Clan and saying he had to educate himself on even what that was because he wouldn't name it that. And like I said, right, this part actually generated a lot of chatter, and Oompaville even asked Mr. B some follow-up questions at the end of the video to get more into the details on his crypto holdings. With actually around that, CoffeeZilla claiming in a separate video that he was the one that came up with those questions and that Oompaville was relaying them. And the first of these questions involves whether or not Mr. Beast was really controlling the trading that went on within Wu-Tang. Right, and this because back in 2021, he said this on a podcast with Logan Paul.
I bought a bunch. I bought quite a few. I bought multiple ones. I've already sold quite a few of them. So then I rolled the money into VeeFriends.
Which you had Oompaville asking.
So if it was your decision, if semantically, if what you're talking about on the podcast, if it was your decision, your trading decision to buy and sell the punks or VeeFriends, even though you didn't press the buttons, was it actually your decision? And if it was your decision, and even if you didn't press the button, it still, to me, would mean that you had control of those trading decisions.
Yes, I did say that in the podcast, and I obviously did not press the buttons, like I've been saying. I didn't pick what punks to buy or anything. Gary Vee, like I said on that podcast, called me and a bunch of other people, said crypto punks were the next big thing. I thought it was pretty crazy. But, the first thing I did right after that is just called the guy in charge of the fund who invested my money and it's other people's money as well, and just said, hey, Gary Vee seemed very passionate about these punks. You should look into it. If it makes sense, buy it.
With Jimmy again claiming that he doesn't even have access to that wallet, though CoffeeZilla pushed back.
I cannot tell you how weird this answer is in hindsight, because you basically have to completely disbelieve what Jimmy says in 2021 to believe this story. And then even more crazy, he says he specifically bought certain CryptoPunks because he liked their attribute, like the cigarette one. He's like, I like the cigarette CryptoPunk.
The cigarettes, because I thought
Cool.
that was an interesting attribute.
But here he's saying, oh, I didn't even know which ones to buy.
I don't know which punks to buy or which ones we should buy if it's a good investment.
But then, moving to the second question, it involves why Mr. Beast didn't disclose that he had a vested interest in another coin called Super, which is one that he allegedly made $10 million off of after he bought $100,000 during a pre-sale. One that many have accused him of promoting before selling off, pointing back to this tweet where he references the coin. And regarding this, Jimmy telling Oompaville,
I just went scrolling through Twitter, just replied Super to his tweet. I did not tell people to buy Super.
Wait, no, stop. Jimmy set up the Super pre-sale thing. That is such a big deal. In his whole thing about like, oh, I barely had anything to do with the fund. The most profitable trading decision this fund ever made was set up explicitly by Mr. Beast Jimmy Donaldson.
and with this, really, Coffee's saying he doesn't think that there's enough evidence to call this thing an illegal scam, but still adding that he says that Mr. Beast needs to own up to it and say, yes, it was shady and wrong, I shouldn't have done it. And there, during a couple of points in the call with Oompaville, Mr. Beast does admit he'd do things differently if he could change the past and say that it was a bad look optically. Again, also claiming he was never involved in the day-to-day operations of the fund. And this is he never apologizes to the degree that Coffee wants him to. But then finally, right, the final question involves Eternity Chain. And that because back in 2021, Mr. Beast says that they gifted him NFTs for a charity auction for his Team Seize project, with the idea apparently being that you'd use Eternity to buy and donate. However, during that event, Mr. Beast's Rocket Fund sold off $2 million in Eternity, with Mr. Beast saying to Oompaville that that event was a massive failure.
Only one sold after like a day, I believe, and that was it. And then
That's
it
not
looks
true.
like the fund sold like 27 days later. A little bit of Eternity.
Yeah, it sold $2 million of the earn token.
Oh, now, there it is. There's the fund. Hey, the fund did. You know whose name is on Eternity? Not the fund. It's Mr. Beast.
And at this point, we even see Oompaville push back on his call with Jimmy, saying it's not a great look if your fund is privately making millions during a charity drop. But with that, we saw Jimmy still defending himself, saying that he doesn't think the criticism is valid because the charity was such a flop.
No, not fair criticism. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Sorry to say, yes, it is. It was bad. You should feel bad. You don't feel bad, which is a problem. I think it's actually a huge problem. This is crazy. Mr. Beast is living in a bubble where he thinks, and like, I don't know, can you not just take basic accountability here? Nobody's even asking. No one's trying to lock you up here.
But yeah, effectively, that is where the Oompaville interview and Coffee's response ends. I'll say credit to Oompaville for relaying the questions from CoffeeZilla to Mr. Beast, though I would personally love to see a sit-down interview or a Zoom interview between CoffeeZilla and Mr. Beast, at least on the crypto topics. But yeah, from here, we're just gonna have to wait to see what happens, and that's on several fronts. What do we see as the general public reaction to all of this? As well as, are we gonna see Mr. Beast suing Dogpack404? But either way, I will say, unless there's a massive, wild update to this, I'm overdosed on this story. But that, my friends, is the end of your Monday evening, Tuesday morning dive into the news. Though I will leave you with two friendly reminders. One, make sure you get in on this brand new Beautiful Bastard drop, especially while we have these Black Friday bundle savings. You can click that link in the description to go to beautifulbastard.com. And two, remember, every day this week, you get 2 chances of getting filled in. First, in the morning over at twitch.tv/DeFranco Live at 10:30 a.m. Eastern. And then, of course, separately, get your full Philip DeFranco show right here on YouTube at 6 p.m. Eastern. I love yo faces. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow.